Ever been stuck in weekday traffic or walking through Target at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and found yourself thinking, how are all these people not at work? You're on a late lunch break, running an errand you barely had time for, and meanwhile, it feels like everyone else is just casually out shopping, getting coffee, or driving around like they have nowhere to be. Or maybe you're catching a midweek flight to visit family, and the airport's full of people, all ages, headed to who knows where. You start wondering, are you the only one that works anymore? Are these people all rich? Do they not have jobs? Are they all influencers, retired, or just ignoring life's responsibilities? You're not imagining it, and you're not the only one asking. But the truth behind it is more surprising than you'd think. Let's dig into why so many people seem like they're not working. Let's start with the obvious. Not everyone works a traditional 9-to-5 job anymore. Millions of people now work from home or have jobs with flexible hours. Remote work exploded during the pandemic and stuck around for a lot of people. According to the BLS, about 1 in 4 employees work remotely at least part of the time. What this means is someone grabbing groceries at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday might have already logged a few hours of work before you even woke up. Or maybe they work continuously through the morning and their 2 o'clock Target run is actually their lunch break. They might be breaking up their day intentionally, answering emails in the morning, running errands midday, and jumping back online for much of the evening. So what looks like not working could actually be just working differently. Also, with flexible schedules, people can take care of personal stuff during what used to be considered work hours, without needing permission or using PTO. That's just the new normal for a lot of workers, and it completely changes what a workday looks like. And the nature of remote work itself is often less rigid than people imagine. It's not about sitting at a desk in silence for 8 straight hours. It's more like being on call a lot of times. As long as you're responsive and getting your work done, you have a little more room to live your life in between. You might knock out a project, then take a walk, hop on a Zoom call, then load the dishwasher. It's not necessarily lazy or unproductive. It's just that the micromanaging has been reduced. Gone are the days of having your boss breathe down your neck all day. In a lot of roles, what matters now is the output, not the hours. And from the outside, that freedom can definitely look like someone's not working at all, even though they might be more productive than ever. Then there's the rise of the gig economy. People are making money in all kinds of ways that don't require being in an office or even having a boss. Uber drivers, Instacart shoppers, online resellers, freelance marketers, Etsy store owners, video editors, the list goes on. You might see someone sitting in a cafe at 10 a.m. and assume they're unemployed. But in reality, they could be a freelance designer who wrapped up the majority of their work the night before and delivered their project before breakfast. Others nearby might be working from their laptops or answering emails on their phone. The old idea of working 9 to 5 for one employer just doesn't fit how a growing share of people earn a living today. According to a recent Bankrate survey, about 39% of U.S. adults have some kind of side hustle. That doesn't necessarily mean they're rich or broke. A lot of them are doing it to supplement their main job. But it does mean the old clock in, clock out model is far from universal now. Another thing we often forget is that not everyone works daytime hours. According to Redline Digital, 16% of U.S. wage and salary workers have non-standard hours outside of a regular 9 to 5. Nurses, factory workers, bartenders, security guards, warehouse employees, overnight stalkers, millions of people work second or third shifts that start in the late afternoon or even midnight. So if they're walking through Costco or grabbing lunch during the day, it doesn't mean they're unemployed. It might just mean they're on a different schedule, sleeping during daylight hours and heading to work while you're winding down for the night. This is especially true in industries like healthcare, transportation, hospitality, logistics, retail, and public safety, fields that keep running pretty much 24/7. You might not see them on the typical 9 to 5 grind, but that doesn't mean they're not working just as hard, if not harder. They just operate on a completely different rhythm, one that often goes unnoticed by the rest of the world. And then there are business owners, people who might not be at work in the traditional sense, but are always on call. They could be at lunch or running errands, but they're still mentally plugged in, ready to deal with the next fire, client issue, or supplier emergency at a moment's notice. Their schedule might look flexible, but the pressure doesn't stop just because they're not sitting at a desk. Some of these people might actually be retired early. According to data from the Motley Fool, 1 to 2% of people retire in their 40s, and about 6 to 11% retire in their 50s. For people in their 30s, the numbers are even smaller, making early retirement far less common than the internet might have you believe. The FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, gets a lot of attention online, but actually pulling it off is a whole different challenge. For starters, most people simply don't earn enough money to stash away a large portion of their income each month, and rising costs only make that harder. On top of that, investment returns aren't guaranteed, and not everyone has the financial knowledge or confidence to navigate the markets. Add in things like student loans, credit card debt, and the constant pressure to keep up with new purchases, and it's no wonder why very few people can realistically make the numbers work to retire decades ahead of schedule. So while there's a chance that the people you're seeing at the park or in a coffee shop at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday are retired in their 40s or 50s, statistically, it's pretty unlikely. There are always exceptions. People who made a lot of money and invested aggressively. Those who sold a business, received an inheritance, or got lucky with real estate or stocks. But those are just the outliers, not the norm. Most people that age are still working in some capacity. They just might be not working in the traditional way you're used to seeing. And let's be real, some of the people you see out during the week, looking relaxed and carefree, aren't exactly crushing it financially. They're not wealthy or financially independent. Many are simply living beyond their means, getting by on borrowed money, when their financial reality says they should be picking up more hours or finding ways to boost their income. They're instead out spending, not earning. A Bankrate report found that about 1 in 3 Americans has more credit card debt than emergency savings. That tells you a lot. Some people just aren't working enough to cover their expenses, whether it's because their job doesn't pay well, they're only working part-time, or they're not willing to make a change. But instead of adjusting their lifestyle and their income, they're bridging the gap with credit cards and loans. On the surface, it might look like they're doing fine, but behind the scenes, they're juggling bills, making minimum payments, and quietly falling behind. You've probably seen it. The new outfits, constant takeout, or quick getaways that don't quite match the job they have. It's not always about showing off. Sometimes it's denial or just trying to maintain the illusion that everything's okay. And it's not always reckless spending either. The basics, rent, groceries, gas, insurance, have all gotten so expensive that even full-time work doesn't always cut it. So the debt piles up and the stress quietly builds. That easygoing lifestyle you're seeing, it might just be held together by a string of minimum payments and financial anxiety that doesn't show on the outside. You don't see the arguments happening at home, the tension between spouses about mounting credit card balances, the silent panic when a bill shows up, or the stress of figuring out which payment can be skipped this month. It might look like they're having fun, but what you're not seeing is the emotional weight that often comes with financial strain. Because debt doesn't just affect your wallet, it affects your relationships, your sleep, and your peace of mind. All of this leads to one key point. It's easy to assume other people have it easier than you just because their lives look more relaxed, but that can be misleading. Sure, some people have built real wealth, set their own schedules, or work jobs that don't look traditional. Others are living paycheck to paycheck, or worse, relying on debt to hold things together. And plenty of people are working hard, just not during the same hours you are. So next time you're sitting in traffic wondering how everyone else seems to be living some stress-free dream life without working, remember, what you're seeing is just a small part of the story. A lot of the people out and about aren't living large. They're on a break, on a flexible schedule, or simply avoiding the hard choices they need to make.